All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you're new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and for waiting patiently for the intro to finish up there. I also want to wish everybody a happy Halloween. It is Halloween today. I don't know how many of you guys care about that, but want to give a shout out to Mrs. MBG for decorating the background here a little bit to celebrate Halloween. So big shout out to Mrs. MBG for making that happen. And yeah, I hope everybody is doing well today. And kind of curious how many of you were, I don't know, doing something for Halloween, trick-or-treating. Well, if you have kids, going out with your kids to trick-or-treat, going to parties, I know Halloween parties are a big thing. Anybody dressing up? I'm not dressing up. I haven't dressed up for Halloween in a long time, but I know a lot of people still like to. What's up, William? Happy Halloween, bro. It's your 9-year anniversary today, so you're going out for dinner. That's cool. That's pretty cool. Chris, you're saying you're dressing up as Anakin Skywalker? Nice. Michael, you're saying you're an Uber driver for Halloween, taking people downtown into house parties. Perfect image, leaving early for work to take your kids. Terrence, your kid and wife are going trick-or-treating with your 2-year-old. Ghetto God, you're going trick-or-treating with 2 of your kids later. That's awesome, man. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, happy Halloween. Kaz Jam with a $2 super chat says it's snowing where I'm at. Where are you, Kaz Jam? Where are you that it's snowing? This is interesting. Can you go trick-or-treating in the snow? I don't think I'd want to go trick-or-treating in the snow. That doesn't sound very pleasant. I'll be honest. Minnesota, okay. That makes sense. And Scuba Tank filled with farts. Love the name, bro. Thank you so much for re-upping your membership. Coming back to greatness awaits. Very much appreciated, bud. That definitely will contribute to the goal overall. And so, guys, let me give you a breakdown of the topics we are going to discuss over the course of today's stream. Yeah, I appreciate that, Scuba Tank. We're going to be talking about a major shakeup that has apparently occurred inside of Insomniac Games, specifically for the team that is currently developing Wolverine. Pretty big scoop, and obviously there are a lot of different opinions on what this means. So I figured we'll go over that information, we'll talk about it, and I'll give my thoughts on it. We're also going to be talking about more PS5 Pro news and updates because we're just days away at this point, and obviously we're going to get more and more info. So we're going to cover that. I also do want to talk a little bit about Call of Duty Black Ops 6 once again because we have Microsoft actually coming out and talking about how it performed so far. They're not giving any specific numbers, at least not to my knowledge, but you know, this is something that we were kind of waiting to find out. The first major launch for Call of Duty underneath Microsoft with, you know, it going into Gamepass. What are the results? How's it looking? I figure we'll just have a general discussion about that as well. And yeah, so these are just some of the topics we're going to be discussing today. And before we dive into it, I want to just ask you guys to please take a moment and hit that like button. We're currently sitting at 35 likes. I would like to see a big push to see if we can get that to 50 likes. Liking the stream lets me know you enjoy the content, and it helps with YouTube's algorithm. I also want to just let you guys know we're striving for a couple of goals today before we dive into the topics, just so everybody's aware. The first goal is for memberships, okay? Listen, if we hit 25 memberships, we'll do the normal celebration. We'll give the cats some of their treats. We'll feed the beast. You know how it goes. But if we hit 50 goals today, and that's what I'm striving for, 50 members today, we will, after this stream ends, go over to a members-only stream and once again do some community matches for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. We did this last week, and I don't know about you guys, but I had a really good time. I had a lot of fun, and it seemed like the members that partook in that had a really good time as well. So if you guys want to make that happen, let's, you know, push for that membership goal. It's okay if we don't hit it. I do appreciate any of the support I get, but, you know, I do want to try to put some incentive out there for you guys. The second goal is just simply through super chats. We get super chats all throughout the stream, so I just put a goal up there. It's not a big deal if we don't hit it, but if we do, I'll reward you guys with just 5 memberships gifted. All right, just a little something there since YouTube's now integrating it. But yeah, thank you guys for all the support. Couldn't do what I do here without you. But with that being said, I do want to dive into the first topic of discussion and this has to do with Insomniac, the Wolverine Shakeup, what's going on. Obviously, Wolverine is one of the biggest games that is left to release this generation, one of the biggest PS5 games, and it was one of the biggest reveals of the PS5 generation as well. But it's been years. It's been years since the game's been revealed. It's been years since we've heard anything official. Obviously, there was the major Insomniac hack where pretty much the entirety of Wolverine leaked out onto the internet to a point where there were actual playable builds that people were downloading to their PCs illegally. It was actually completely insane. But I mean, every single aspect of Wolverine was out there. The story from start to finish, the chapters, the mechanics, everything. And it was quite shocking to see it go down that way. And if you were trying to avoid some of the leaks, you might be in the dark with a lot of this stuff. I'm in the dark with some of it. But what I do recall with some of these leaks, or some of the feedback to this leak, some of it was negative. A lot of people were not too thrilled with some of the things that Insomniac was seemingly choosing to do. There were a lot of things, however, that people were enjoying and were looking forward to. But with what we're going to go over today, I just wanted to kind of preface this conversation with keeping that in mind, right? Keep in mind that this info is coming after this leak occurred, and basically the entirety of Wolverine's development up to a certain point was made public, and Sony was able to get direct feedback because of it. So this comes from Steven Totillo. He actually dropped this, I believe, sometime yesterday. It was an exclusive scoop from Steven Totillo. He has something that he calls Gamefile, which I believe is a paywalled thing he does where he will give you scoops and certain insider information on occasion. But we have it being reported here from the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. Gamefile, Perfect Dark new creative director is Brian Horton, who left Wolverine. Ratchet and Clank leads are now helming Wolverine. So it says here, the game is now being helmed by creative director Marcus Smith, a representative for Sony Interactive Entertainment, has confirmed to Gamefile. Mike Daly will serve as Wolverine's new game director. Wolverine's previously announced game director Cameron Christian will remain at the studio in a different role. This is what Gamefile understands. Smith and Daly are a formidable duo for Wolverine. They previously held creative director and director roles, respectively, on Insomniac's acclaimed 2021 PS5 release Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. The change atop the Wolverine development team are the result of creative decisions around the game. The two sources told Gamefile. SIE's representative declined to comment on the reason for the role changes on Wolverine. As for Horton, who previously worked as the creative director on another lauded Insomniac game, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, he's already found a new high-profile gig. He's the new creative director at the Xbox-published Perfect Dark, the highly anticipated FPS that is being co-developed by Microsoft's The Initiative and Embracer-owned Crystal Dynamics. Horton will be bringing his wealth of experience to the upcoming reboot of the classic Secret Agent series, an Xbox representative confirmed to Gamefile. So this is quite the scoop here that we're getting from Steven Totillo. Michael Lynch says, I put no stock into anybody's opinion on that Wolverine footage. Nobody has seen the finished product. I'm sure it will be beautiful. Yeah, and I don't blame you for that, Michael. When we talk about this leaked footage, there was a lot of negativity, and it did seem like a lot of that negativity was stemming from the fact that people were not willing to kind of be accepting of the fact that this is early footage that's really, really rough. I mean, it's like it's not even pre-alpha footage, right? That's how early it is. And pretty much nothing's finished. It's just the bare bones of the game. It's stuff that the public is never supposed to see. And you could tell that people were being very harsh and negative towards it because of that. But there was also a little bit of feedback with some of the stuff that they were seeing. People were like, oh, it looks like a Wolverine version of Spider-Man or something. And that to me was a really bizarre take because I don't know what people were talking about. Like it had some similarities in the sense that, of course, Wolverine's going to be fighting multiple enemies at one time, obviously, like just like Spider-Man does, groups of enemies. But when you were watching the gameplay, it was like, this really isn't anything like Spider-Man, you know? And it was just really strange to see people kind of, and also the fact that, again, this game is nowhere near finished. So I agree with what you're saying, Michael. It's not really worth taking anybody's opinion too seriously when it comes, even mine, right? Anybody's, when it comes to this early footage, because it's not representative or indicative of what the final product is going to look like. But with that being said, this is some really interesting, this is an interesting scenario, I would say, regarding the shakeup at Insomniac with Wolverine, because the thing that I really am focused on here has to do with the section here where it says the change atop the Wolverine development team is the result of creative decisions around the game. I want you to focus on that, and I want you to focus on this. Wolverine's previously announced game director, Cameron Christian, will remain at the studio in a different role. So I want to point this out because I want to make it clear that people might read this and take it as, well, the original game, not the game director, but Brian Horton, right? Brian Horton, he left because Microsoft poached him, right? Microsoft headhunted him. It's a possibility. However, the fact that they mentioned Cameron Christian, the original game's director, he was not poached, but he's no longer the director. He was removed from his directorial position and is now doing something else at Insomniac. This tells me that this was not a matter of the creative director got a better offer from Microsoft, so then decided to leave Sony and Insomniac to go to Microsoft. I think Microsoft picked him up because maybe he got taken off of his role at Wolverine, and maybe Microsoft was like, "Hey, we will offer you something here. We have a position." Also, the fact, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Brian Horton has previous experience at Crystal Dynamics. I'm fairly certain that he was a director. Like, he worked on the Tomb Raider reboot. Pretty sure that that's how he was able to maybe get into this project, the Perfect Dark project, so quickly and so easily. But that's what's so interesting about this, is the fact that we're getting information on top of that the original director has been removed from Wolverine. That's a massive shakeup. This isn't just like somebody left because they wanted to make more money doing this other thing. No, like, make no mistake, what this scoop is revealing is that the people who are in charge of directing Wolverine and shaping it as a whole, they've been completely replaced. They've been removed and they've been replaced by the leadership team that worked on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And that's why I'm paying so close attention to the aspect here that says this was over creative decisions. So in other words, somebody at Sony, I don't know who, I don't know if it was Herman Hulst, but somebody at Sony, if that section of the report is to be believed, did not like the creative decisions that were made with Wolverine. And because of that, decided to replace those who were in charge and those who made those decisions. This makes me wonder if there's potentially going to be an internal delay. Waylark with a super chat says, if he doesn't have rainbow claws, we riot. I mean, you would hope not, right? You would hope not, Waylark. Lucky Raygun, member for 10 months, says, I wonder how much this is going to change the game. Either way, though, I hope the game turns out good. Well, it will change the game, for sure, in pretty meaningful ways. Because, again, these are the highest positions and the highest roles within this project. So it's going to have a profound ripple effect on the entire project. I don't think it's getting rebooted or anything like that. That would be nuts. I don't think it's that serious. But what I could see is certain aspects of the story, certain directions the story went in, certain plot lines, things like this. I could see stuff like this greatly changing. We could see major changes to gameplay, though, as well. Not that we've seen anything, but again, just kind of based on the leaks. But this is very interesting because it's... I mean, you almost have to wonder, right? And this would make a lot of sense. You almost have to wonder if Sony saw the more general response to the leaks, because make no mistake, if there's anything Sony can get out of that hack is, well, people are seeing Wolverine, we're going to get feedback. So this isn't what we wanted, obviously, but it's something we can take. It's something we can extract from it, and we can try to do something. We can try to learn something. What if all of this is in response to the hack and the leaks, and I don't know, man. It's so hard to know because we're not getting a ton of information here, but it does seem like something is going on in Insomniac Games. It seems like Sony seems to be getting more directly involved with Insomniac Games. At least that's my read on it. Something's going on there where first it was, we're going to get DLC for Spider-Man 2. There's a whole roadmap. Then it's actually, no, we're not doing any DLC. We're not doing anything more for Spider-Man 2. Now it's, here's pretty much the entirety of Wolverine leaked. And then, we're just kind of waiting to hear from it. And then the next thing we hear is actually the director was replaced and another developer just decided to leave, top director. Vanino, you're saying MBG, my issue is it plays like Crackdown. Big no-no, my opinion. What makes you say that, though? Like, what do you mean, Vanino? Crackdown, I mean, are you talking about the fact that Wolverine jumps high? Like he can leap far distances? Or like leap from building to building? I mean, I can understand where you see that similarity, but dude, Crackdown gameplay is like, I'll put it to you this way. You pick up and play Crackdown, any Crackdown game, you're definitely not playing as Wolverine. You're playing as an agent with a gun that just happens to be able to jump and leap far distances. So that's, and also, I mean, again, if you're trying to compare it to Crackdown in terms of visuals, you can't come to that conclusion based off of this early footage we've seen, Wolverine's going to be just like Crackdown confirmed. Uh-oh. Crackdown feels closer to the Incredible Hulk than Wolverine. Waylark with a super chat says, the movement did look a little like Crackdown. Maybe you guys, Waylark, maybe you and Vanino are on something. Maybe this is why the director got removed. Herman Hulst came in and he's like, I'm ready to see the latest build of Wolverine. He played it and he's like, guys, this is making me feel like I'm playing Crackdown 3, bro. you're fired. No, I'll be honest, man. I'm not. I kind of understand what you're saying from the standpoint of like the movement or the traversal. I kind of get that, but I don't know, man. If you saw that gameplay, Wolverine's like climbing walls using his claws and stuff, which, yeah, like that makes perfect sense. Like, why would that not be a thing for traversal? Can you do that in Crackdown? Do you think this shakeup is going to affect the game in a good way or a bad way? I'm assuming good. Something definitely went wrong. If the director of the game was replaced or removed from his position and the creative director went over to Microsoft, something went terribly wrong somewhere along the way. So I think that, you know, it's going to benefit from it because if something went wrong, this is their way of trying to course correct, trying to fix the problem. And Gavin House, thank you so much for that, buddy. Gavin House re-ups his membership as well today, coming back to Greatness Waits. So that's 2. And I appreciate it. Thank you, Gavin. Ahoy, Tyler. I did see quite a few people thinking that's the case here, and I do not think that's what's going on. That to me is a little bit too far out there, and I think that's a lot of wishful thinking. Gavin, you're saying finally paid myself after 3 years. Well, I do appreciate that, man. Thank you. I do think the idea that, oh, well, it's because of all the backlash with Insomniac working with Sweet Baby Inc. And, you know, we need to listen, this is a very important thing for people to understand. And I say this as somebody who doesn't like that type of stuff, but people need to calm down with what they think a consultancy company is able to do on a project like this, or any AAA project for that matter. Consultancy companies, I mean, people are out here thinking that these consultancy companies are kicking down the door, entering the studio and saying, we're directing this thing now. And we're going to tell you exactly how it's going to go down. That's not even remotely what goes on. The consultancy company at most gets to maybe make suggestions that the team then decides, you know what? I like that. We'll do that. Thank you. This is what we pay you for. That's a good idea. I mean, in the moment, they might think it's a good idea, but how the audience ends up feeling about it, well, that's another thing entirely. But that's important to understand because what we're seeing here, like, is it possible? Listen, if we're really going to lean into the conspiratorial side of things, is it possible that the director and Brian Horton, that they basically were like giving way too much power to this consultancy group and allowing them to basically shape things to a degree that really they shouldn't? And other people inside of Sony or the studio kind of caught wind and it caused some kind of, you know, like, whoa, you guys are messing this whole thing up. It's possible, but that just seems super unlikely. What's much more likely, honestly, is they just wrote a bad Wolverine story. They wrote a story and they created an overall Wolverine project that just seemed like it wasn't going to hit the mark and seemed like it maybe ran a higher chance of being a disappointment or frustrating people or letting fans down. Listen, let's look at the other side of this. Could this be a bad thing? It's possible. Yeah. That's also a possibility. Waylark is saying, dude, you've said before you would avoid games with SBI. Well, that's true. I have said that, but the realization for me is like when I play something like God of War Ragnarok and then somebody comes to me and they're like, bro, you know SBI consultant on that, right? Oh. I didn't know that. And that's where it's like, so you hate God of War Ragnarok now, right? You definitely don't like it? No. I loved God of War Ragnarok. It was like one of the best games I played this generation so far. But SBI worked on it too. Like, they were involved. And do you see what I'm saying? Where it's like, well, that is a bit annoying, but sorry, a good game trumps whatever that. A game that comes out that's really good and I enjoyed trumps whatever consultancy company that may have had some kind of input. Because, like, that, you know what I'm saying? This is where, and I'm not gonna be leaning too deep into this part of the conversation because it's tiring, and people, you know, I was literally asking people for feedback yesterday on my channel of, like, you know, what do you think could help improve the streams? And one of the things people were saying is, like, I'm tired of this woke talk all the time. And I get it because I'm tired of talking about it all the time as well. But listen, if somebody wants to make the decision that if a video game has any involvement with this company, and because of that, they do not want to purchase that video game or experience that video game, that's fine. I can respect that decision, but that's not how I operate. I operate on, does the game look good and fun and like something I'm going to enjoy? Because if I operated the other way, I would have skipped God of War Ragnarok, and I would have regretted that because Ragnarok was an amazing game. And I don't want to risk missing out on awesome experiences and awesome games that I'm going to think back on years later and be like, that was amazing. I don't want to risk doing that because, oh, well, look, this is who they consulted with during the development. I'm not saying I am cheering that on and saying I want to see more of that, but I'm just saying, like, okay, that makes me a little bit concerned and a little bit worried about the end product. But if the end product is good, then whatever. No harm, no foul. If the end product is bad and a dumpster fire, then we have to have a conversation. You know what I mean? But I think the reality is people have given way too much power to the notion that these consultancy companies are forming and shaping the bulk of these games, when in reality, like, they are probably hardly doing much of anything. Maybe a little here, a little there. And sure, maybe those little things can be the things that annoy you the most. But they're not directing the game. Is it possible that the directors of said game are just making bad decisions? Yes, that's actually much more likely. Because I think something else that people don't fully grasp is that the director has the end, you know, they're the end all be all of the project. They say what happens and what doesn't. They say what gets greenlit and what gets shut down, what gets put in, what gets scrapped, right? That also means that when they are getting feedback from any consultancy company they're working with, they can just say, oh, thank you, we're not going to use that. Here are the ideas they listed. Maybe they listed 10. Maybe we'll use one. I think that's important to understand because sometimes I think people start to get this idea that if a game fails and does bad, it's because of this random consultancy company. And it's like, well, they can contribute to that failure, but the reality is if a game is a failure at a high level, that's on, like, the studio itself. Like, 95% of the reason of that failure is on the studio and the leadership and the decisions they made. And so that's what makes this so interesting to see with Wolverine and the leadership change because, well, think about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, right? Oh, hold on. My thing crashed out again. Ray, you're saying, do you all know why he was moved? I mean, do you know the reason they just took him off the game? They would not just do that to do it. I'm sure PlayStation had a reason. Well, that's what I'm saying, man, is Wolverine is kind of an interesting case because of the hack and the leaks. I mean, maybe maybe the hack is a good thing for the game. Maybe it would have ended up a lot worse than we realized, and maybe somewhere along the way Sony kind of realized that. All right, hold on. Saying my only issue with Ratchet is it was too short and not enough content. Some people did have that complaint for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. But I mean, I really enjoyed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I do think Wolverine is a different type of game from top to bottom. You know, when you're comparing it to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I think the important takeaways when we think about the directors and the creative director of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart now helming Wolverine, the important takeaways are they have experience, they know how to get a project together very quickly, make it run really well, like to a point where it's a showpiece, and I would say create an overall satisfying experience that maybe at the end of the day for something like Rift Apart, you think to yourself, okay, maybe it's a little bit shorter than I expected. But at the same time, I think there are just as many people who thought it's perfect for what it is. Because when I think of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart as a complete, package, I think, yeah, it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it. And it was one of the standout titles I played in 2021. And one of the standout launch games for PlayStation 5. I don't know how much will change. It's impossible for me to know how much will change with these new directors at the helm because, well, again, we haven't really seen much of it. That's another thing that's interesting to me about this game is deep in development. My lips just made a really weird noise there. This game is deep in development. And because of that, we are seeing this happen nearly 5 years, or sorry, over 4 years into its development. This tells me that there's something fundamental, somebody at Sony identified something fundamentally wrong with this game that seemingly stems from a creative standpoint. It's tough because when you say creative standpoint, what could that mean? What could that mean? Could that mean something gameplay related? Yeah, of course. But I feel like when I hear it was a creative decision, I can't help but think more along the lines of something relating to the story, the plot, the themes, things like that. Maybe I'm off the mark there. Character design, potentially. I mean, maybe it's just a litany of things, right? Maybe it's just, here's 10 different things that we are identifying as problems that at the end of the day, we could go blame the writing team. We could go blame the art team. But at the end of the day, it's you have this leadership position because it's your job to oversee all these things. And while not everything's expected to be perfect, and there could be a couple things here and there, occasionally that stand out as problematic or flawed, when you have a whole, and again, this is just pure speculation, most of this is, could it be the overall gameplay loop? It seems like it really could be any one of these things. But something is changing. And something's going to change quite dramatically because we are looking at a game that was announced in September of 2021. It's been in development for, over 3 years now. And we haven't seen anything official. And now the directors are being replaced 3.5 years or a little over 3 years into its development. Again, I don't think best case scenario, they have to get the game in better shape more quickly. Maybe that's why, right? Maybe everything is already, like, all the foundational pieces of the game are already finished or have already come together. The story's done, the structure, the gameplay. It's just a matter of the director, these creative directors, the creative director and the director. They now have to come in, the new ones who worked on Ratchet and Clank, and it's like, we got to whip this game into shape. Like, we got to produce, we got to make sure everything's coming together quickly. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's all this really is. What's up, Corey? Saying, I declared my survival just the other day. Great to see the Latias again. Well, what happened, man? I mean, I'm glad to hear that. But what happened? Good to have you back, man. Yeah, you were here the other day, too, which was great to see. Chris Brown, you're saying random, but PS/Xbox needs to take notes from Nintendo, a no-nonsense BS company, but managed to put out the most creative/fun games while being a tablet. I mean, I do think there are certainly things that PlayStation and Xbox can learn from Nintendo. No doubt about that. And I think they have to, right? I think in the same, but to be honest, I think there's also some things that maybe Nintendo can learn from both Sony and Microsoft. I think it's important that these companies don't ever get too arrogant, right? Generally speaking, like, they all need to learn from one another. They all need to just look at what the other side is doing, what they're doing that's working, what they're doing right. Take some notes. But also, it goes the other way. If they're doing something wrong, take notes. But I do get what you're saying, Chris. No nonsense. That I agree with. I agree that there needs to be, I think, just a better overall philosophy inside of PlayStation right now, inside of PlayStation Studios. I don't think it's all bad. I think some people make it seem like it's all bad, but I do think there has to be an overall more consistent philosophy across the board. And this is what could lead to better consistency overall. Okay, you're saying, MBG, if any of these issues you described are accurate, they will require many years of development time to fix. Game is cooked, unfortunately. It could be that. I'm not going to assume that, but it could be that the entire game is being rebooted. That is a possibility. It could explain why this is happening. Maybe Sony was gearing up. Maybe they were gearing up and they're like, we're going to be showing Wolverine for the first time, but maybe they did some kind of, I mean, look, I don't know what the procedure is for these big AAA games. I don't know if they do like kind of mock test runs with mock audiences or whatever to gauge how people are going to respond to the first trailer of a big major product that has over $200 million dumped into it. I mean, I feel like that's something they would do. Maybe they showed the trailer to a mock audience and it was like, this is bad, bro. This is bad. And Sony was like, oh God, like we have to completely change that. Jay Shako, why'd you delete Corey's message, bro? Corey saying, I had a blood pressure scare, but it looks like we're okay now. Shit, man. It's all good, Jay. just as long as we're on the same page. I'm sorry to hear that, Corey. Yeah, that's scary stuff. But I am glad to hear you're okay, man. My blood pressure apparently is a little bit on the high side too, according to my doctor. But he wants to wait and see a little bit. My doctor thinks that my high blood pressure might be related to like my nerves and not necessarily something else. So we're going to monitor it. But it does run in my family. So always got to watch out for that high blood pressure, man. What do they call it? The silent killer? Waylark with a super chat says, Nintendo don't give an F. Putting out a music app instead of just putting their music on Spotify. Ballers. I mean, Nintendo really does what Nintendo does, right? Like, Nintendo does what it wants. And I think if a company does that long enough, and they just, over a long period of time, it's just communicated that we don't care. We're going to do what we want. I think it's not that even people respect. I mean, some people can respect it, but I think people just stop caring, like in the sense that they're not going to get upset. They're like, oh yeah, they're doing what they want, you know? Surprise, surprise. There goes Nintendo releasing a music app. Alarmo. Meanwhile, Sony puts out a PS5 Pro and the whole world loses its mind. But yeah, that is kind of the difference, I would say, with Nintendo. I really do hope that things are okay. I really do hope things are okay with Wolverine, because the absolute worst case scenario here is that Wolverine is getting rebooted. And if that's the case, we are not seeing it this generation. And that would be kind of devastating, I would say. Maybe it would ultimately be what's best for the game, but it would be devastating. Ghostbound X, 10th time super chatting. Thank you for that. I guess if Wolverine doesn't show up at the Game Awards, then yeah, the game is in trouble. It is worth noting we did hear from an insider, I think like last week, if memory serves, that Insomniac was gearing up to show more Wolverine. And that's why I kind of speculated, is it possible they kind of showed the trailer to like a mock audience to gauge what the reaction will be? And it was like super negative. And they were like, okay, we got to go back to the drawing board here because we can't have another disaster. I think that's the most extreme scenario. I did see some people taking a much more positive approach, a much more optimistic approach by basically saying, well, maybe the game is pretty much done. And that's why, like, all of this is happening. And the directors... See, I don't know. That doesn't really add up, though. I don't think that adds up, because if that was the case, then why would the original director, why would he have been replaced? Why would he be moved to a lower position at the studio? To me, that only says the game isn't... that's only a bad thing. Like, there's no explanation there that makes me think, well, this is a good thing, you know? And I'm not trying to doom it. I'm not trying to be doomer about it. I'm just trying to be realistic in that it's just frankly never a good sign when you lose one creative director in the middle of a project, but let alone two, the director of the project and the creative director. Then you lost two. And Corey the legend, glad to hear your blood pressure is under control, man. Got to take care of that. I'm going to have to watch mine too. I'm trying to change my diet as well. He comes in, he drops 10 membership gifts for you guys. Corey, thank you so much for that, bud. It's great to have you back. And I appreciate you. As soon as he comes back, look at this, man. As soon as he comes back, he's already supporting the community with membership gifts again. Really appreciate it, bud. That brings us up to 12. We'll push for the goal. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you right now. I want to hit this goal today. Okay? I want to play some Black Ops 6 with my members. It was really fun. What can I say? It's okay if we don't. And let me just update the goal. And we have, I think, a super chat from Waylark again here. He says, Wolverine's ability to heal rapidly could be a metaphor for the... Waylark. This is why people are going to leave the stream, man. This is why people are going to leave the stream. All right, well, I will read it. You're saying Wolverine's ability to heal rapidly could be a metaphor for the resilience many trans people develop as they confront societal prejudice. With this, I always hate the way that's wrote out, SNIKT, but like the sound of Wolverine's claws coming out. I mean, Waylark, listen. I'm just going to shut it down now. No. No. I love how Unknown is in the chat saying, he might be right, you know. Guys, come on. Come on, we got to do better than this. Listen, I understand people have some concerns about Wolverine when it comes to the things we've discussed. And could it be that the upper management at Sony kind of caught wind of what's going on with some of their studios and maybe starting to get a little bit worried that, guys, I think you might be a little bit misguided. You might be hurting our products a little bit. And we really don't want to see that happen. Is it possible? Of course. There's many different possibilities here, but I don't know, man. It seems pretty clear to me that the higher-ups at Sony are well aware that we own a lot of Western studios. We own, like they were well aware of this stuff. So again, man, I feel like it has to be something on a more fundamental level that's just gone wrong. And I would say that's actually maybe a little bit more, if not more concerning, just as Terry Crews will be in Wolverine. Hey man, that's how it can relate to Crackdown. When in doubt, hire Terry Crews, bring him in. Last ditch effort. I completely forgot about that until I just saw that in the chat that Crackdown 3 got Terry Crews to be like the face of Crackdown 3. So random. Stephen Leon, member for 13 months. Thank you, Stephen. He says, it just depends on who they showed Wolverine to. Could be people that don't like the so-called toxic masculinity. You never know. I mean, that would be another possibility. Maybe it has, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with Deadpool and Wolverine. Maybe Sony just saw like, bro, Marvel just brought Wolverine back with Hugh Jackman. This is the type of Wolverine they made. This is the type of Wolverine they wrote. And that movie went on to make $1 billion, over $1 billion. And then maybe they went and they checked, let's go see what kind of Wolverine Insomniac wrote. And it's like nothing like that. And they're like, we want that Wolverine. We want that kind of Wolverine because he's going to make a lots of money for us, just like they did for Marvel. I mean, I know it sounds a bit far-fetched, but you never know, man. Money talks. Money influences. And I have to imagine that a lot of people at Sony, they know that a Wolverine game is in development. They see what's going on with Deadpool and Wolverine and how it's just blowing up and raking in hundreds of millions of dollars like it's nothing. I think what it revealed to Sony and maybe to many others is that, wow, Wolverine has the potential to make way more money than we originally thought. Again, we are in total speculation territory here, but it's something that I do think is worth keeping in mind going forward, that we are learning. And you know what? I want to point out one other thing as well. And this, I think, is important to note. We do not know when this change occurred. My understanding and my assumption is that it happened very recently. That's my take on it. But it could have happened a little while ago, and we're just hearing about it now. Yeah, for all we know, it could have happened after the leaks occurred. That's a possibility, of course. Again, many possibilities. I would love to get more info on this, to be honest. More than anything, I would love to see Wolverine, because when we see it, we'll be able to know, are we excited for this? That's what I would like more than anything. And Hellbound 1981, another legend. Just like the good old days. Corey and Hellbound tag teaming it here. Hellbound drops 5 more gifts for you guys, bringing us up to 17 on the day. Hellbound, thank you so much, my friend. So we are close to the 25 mark. We hit the 25 mark, we'll feed the beast. We hit the 50 mark. Member goal achieved. Reward unlocked. Black Ops 6 gameplay with members. Today, on Halloween. I was trying to see if they let you do infected mode in private lobbies, and unfortunately they don't, and I was really disappointed by that. That would have been perfect for a day like today, since it's Halloween. But subtext says, on the positive side, this is a sign of no toxic positivity. Things weren't working, and a change was made rather than pushing forward. That's good. Absolutely agreed. Subtext. And that is, I think, a positive to be extracted here. And I know how some people might view that, where it's like, oh, now you're trying to twist it. No, it could ultimately result in us waiting even longer for a game we've already been waiting a while to see, which wouldn't be good. But that is a good call out, subtext. You know, we just came off of the situation with Firewalk Studios where there was a whole situation with toxic positivity. And because of that, you know, not enough constructive feedback that was desperately needed for that game was allowed to be given. And that could have saved that game, or at least helped it, right? We want to see stuff like that, especially for games like Wolverine, where I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited and I want it to be good. And Corey the Legend comes in and drops another 5 bomb for you guys. 5 more members from Corey. That's 15 in total from him, bringing us up to 22. I know Corey wants to hit the goals today. Thank you, Corey. And we have another chat from Waylark here. He says, serious now, how did we go from being mostly positive about it and excited to now acting like it's an indie game that Sony are only now being serious about because the lead left and went to Xbox? I mean, I would say, Waylark, it's because the entire perception of the PlayStation brand has changed quite a bit since the time this game was first revealed. And many different things have occurred in between that I think have certainly influenced people's opinion of news like this. I hope that answer makes sense. I'll elaborate a little bit further. Basically, what I'm saying is, when Wolverine was first announced, it was like peak PS5 excitement. Xbox was struggling still, but I mean, even at that time, they didn't have ABK and anything like that. People were pretty down on Xbox, but people were way higher up on Sony and the PS5 at the time. And so it was an exciting thing. Absolutely. And then basically over the next 2.5 to 3 years, I would say between some people not feeling as hot about Spider-Man 2, I would say the hacks and the leaks, you know, getting such an early glimpse at stuff you're not really supposed to see. A lot of people being like, that looks ugly, that looks bad. That on top of some other decisions that Sony's made that I would say have reduced the goodwill from the wider gaming community. I think all these things kind of coming together. And then also the fact that Xbox had a pretty good showcase this year, and one of the games people thought did look pretty promising was Perfect Dark, surprisingly so, right? And I think all these things, they kind of like, they add up to make a person's kind of overall thought process lead to just not feeling good about it, not feeling confident, feeling skeptical. And what you say here is like to acting like it's an indie game that Sony only now being serious about. That is, well, I would say, Waylark, what we're seeing right now is pretty much the opposite, at least for me. My read on it is this is the opposite. Sony knows how imperative it is for this game to sell well. Like, they need it to sell well. You also have to wonder, speaking of Spider-Man 2, why was the DLC seemingly canceled? We know it was planned, and it's not happening. So if it wasn't canceled, it means it's being repurposed. But assuming it isn't being repurposed, assuming it was canceled, why would it be canceled? Why is the PC port coming way quicker than expected? I mean, again, I'm not trying to be overly negative, and I hope people don't take it that way, because I know that there's a lot of people who go out of their way to be overly negative towards everything Sony does. But I'm just trying to be realistic in that, is it possible that Spider-Man 2 basically, after it hit a certain threshold of sales, it just like hit a wall? Is it possible that a lot of the negative discourse that began to crop up in the months after Spider-Man 2 launching, is it possible that this could have had a negative impact on the longer sales tail that Sony was expecting? Is it possible that this spooked Sony? It spooked them into deciding we don't want to commit to the DLC because we're afraid it's going to just end up being way too expensive, or it's not going to result, it's not going to be profitable. And we need to prioritize that PC port because the sales are slowing down quicker than we thought. Is it possible that Spider-Man 2 maybe isn't moving as many systems as Sony thought it would in this time frame? And is it possible that Sony's maybe looking at all of that and realizing that, okay, we need to make sure Wolverine doesn't fall into the same type of situation? I'm just throwing this out here. The answer to all those questions could be no. You're way off the mark. You're completely wrong. It's none of those things. But I'm just trying to keep in mind everything that has come before this news today. And you can kind of see that there are some things that potentially point you in a certain direction. My hope is that Steven Totillo or somebody, Jason Schreier, whoever, my hope is that somebody can do a little bit more digging and get a little bit more info on this, because this kind of came out of nowhere. Steven Totillo broke the story and he's like, this is a double scoop, and it's something that a lot of people, I think, are now realizing today, like, this is kind of a big deal. And so maybe there are going to be other gaming journalists that are going to start to do some further digging and try to get a little bit more info on what led to this. I would love to get that info, and whatever it ends up being, again, maybe it's just, guys, the game is pretty much done. They decided to put the directors of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart in charge now because they need to get to the finish line quicker. And these guys know what they're doing. They know how to make that happen. That absolutely could be a possibility. And that's a more positive outcome, right? We have El Unico 10 times super chatting. Thank you for that. He says, remember, no Game Pass users allowed in COD lobbies. Yes, no Game Pass users. You're banned. No, it's all good, man. It was funny because when we were playing those matches, when I was playing those matches with members, I think at least one or two people were playing on PC. There was one guy in there, he was like way too good. And I'm like, all right. Michael Lynch says with a $5 super chat, the perception of PlayStation is just fine. It's just some people online trying to discredit PlayStation. It's not most people. It's not most people. I would say you're right, Michael. I would say so. But I also want to say that I do believe that more people online are starting to have a somewhat negative or even very negative perception of PlayStation than what we've seen previously. And because of that, I do think it's having a slight influence over most people. Slight. Not big, slight. And I think that's important because I don't think the only thing I would disagree with is that the negative perception you see online from certain groups and vocal individuals, the negative perception you see online, I don't think it's fair to say it has zero influence at all. I don't think that's true. But I do think it's not as profound of an influence as some people want to believe. And I think that's kind of been proven time and time again. That's my read on it. But Michael, I'm generally in agreement with you that it's not when we talk about the wider gaming community, millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of people, dude, they don't go on social media and follow gaming stuff or see what people have to say or listen to what people have to say about games. Ever. So many people, the only conversations they have about games or anything they hear is from their friends, maybe, or even their family. That's about it. And so that is a reality that I think is undeniable, and I think that it's proven even in the numbers. It's why when you see any game that seems like, oh, this game's definitely going to fail because the internet told me so, and then it just doesn't, and it does just fine, or sometimes even finds success, and you're like, I don't get it, but the internet told me this. And in some rare cases, we do see where the internet is right and something does fail. But I would say more often than not, the internet is, well, I'm not going to say whether it's wrong or right most of the time, but I think what is safe to say is that internet opinion and the conversations and the discourse that occur, it's all over the place. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. And there's really no consistency. So that's why I always try to tell people at the end of the day, gravitate towards what appeals to you, generally speaking. It's okay, I think, to listen in, to get some opinions, to, allow a little bit of influence in. That's fine. But at the end of the day, go with your gut. If you think something's going to be good and you're excited for it, go enjoy it. Because that's really what's going to matter to you most at the end of the day. The last thing you ever want is to miss out on something that you otherwise would have enjoyed because you let some random person's opinion decide for you. That, I think, is happening a lot these days, and it is unfortunate because I really do believe that so many people are becoming more and more unhappy because they don't realize that you're not just going with your instinct and allowing your natural sensibilities that would allow you to gravitate towards the things you like. You're not letting that kind of flow. You're letting something interfere with that, or many things interfere with that. And that has happened to me at times. But you got to go with your gut, man. And I want to make it clear, because I see what somebody's saying in the chat. It doesn't mean that the thing you end up gravitating towards doesn't mean it'll succeed either, right? Like, just because you choose to support it doesn't mean it's going to succeed. It just means you're doing what you're doing for you. Subtext, you're saying there are so many factors we don't know. It could be that the production was moving too slowly because of direction, contributing to no trailers. Exactly. Like, the more I ponder that, the more that sounds like the situation that's occurring here, where maybe it is possible that Brian Horton did get headhunted. Maybe Microsoft gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. And he's like, I mean, yeah, I have experience working with Crystal Dynamics, and sure, yeah, more money sounds great. And he just went over to Microsoft. And maybe because of that, Sony was just like, all right, well, the production is going too slow. Maybe we just got to get people in here that are going to be able to streamline this and get it going. That sounds more likely, because people have been wondering, like, how come we haven't seen anything? Feels like we should have seen something from Wolverine by now, but we haven't seen anything. Although I think that's a little unfair. I will admit, I think it's a little unfair, because it's like Insomniac's been doing some heavy lifting for Sony this generation. They've been doing some heavy lifting for Sony. And, you know, to be honest, I kind of feel like if they need more time, they should be allowed to have more time. Maybe Brian Horton just got tired, man. MBG, what's the news? Can you recap real quick? Well, we're still on the first main topic of discussion because it's such a big topic, and we're probably going to move on to the next topic momentarily. But basically, the director of Wolverine has been replaced by who was it here? So the two directors on Wolverine, the main director and the creative director, were replaced by Ratchet and Clank lead developers Mike Daly and Marcus Smith. They have now taken over Wolverine from a directorial standpoint. And Brian Horton, the creative director, actually went over to Microsoft, and he is now, I think he's now the creative director on Perfect Dark. Waylark is saying most people just don't like corporations. That is true, Waylark. That is very true. Damn corpos. It's Naughty Dog who needs to show something or anything. I agree. Naughty Dog's the one. Come on. If not Wolverine, if Insomniac needs time, come on, Naughty Dog. Steven, you're saying make up your mind for yourself. If you let people govern what you play, you may want to look in the mirror and see if you're being guided in the direction they tell you. Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on, man. Like, did you guys see I had to like do a double take when I saw this, where there's this individual on Twitter that goes by Grums. I think he's relatively well known, but he's one of these like grifter types or whatever. He's like, he tries to completely capitalize on like everything's woke and we got to smash everything because everything's woke. Apparently and the only reason I paid attention to this was because it involved Last Stand Media, and Colin Moriarty actually directly responded to him, where there was that whole situation with Mr.MattyPlays and the accidental breaking of the NDA, where I think somebody who worked for Mr.MattyPlays ended up, like one of his editors or something, ended up taking footage and sending it to people, and then it ended up making its way into the wrong hands, and then it was put out there publicly. Basically, it seems this Grums individual made a fake document. Like, he wrote up a fake non-disclosure agreement for Dragon Age Veilguard, and it was supposed to be Mr.MattyPlays specific, his NDA specifically for him and for Last Stand Media. And it, at the top left of the document, he accidentally left the cursor up. So it was like a dead giveaway. Like, bro, you just typed that up. And he was like making a big deal about it. I don't know. That's what people were saying. People were saying it's completely fake. It's ridiculous. But then Colin Moriarty actually, he's like calling him out. He's like, dude, this is not real. And he was like, come on Sacred Symbols, or come to Last Stand Media and have a conversation. And I would love to see that. That would be very interesting. But it's just really crazy stuff going on out there, man. Really crazy stuff. It was found on 4chan. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. we'll see what happens. I mean, what's crazy about the NDA though, like because I was looking at it and I'm like, it is difficult. It is very, very difficult to believe this has any credibility or is real at all. Because it literally lists stuff like you can't talk about woke or whatever. I mean, it's so like, what? Like this cannot be real. Because honestly, if it was, it's like, okay, yeah, there's a big problem here. But it's like so out there. It's like there's no conceivable reality where that's a real NDA. But yeah, crazy things going on with that game, Dragon Age Veilguard, and the discourse surrounding it. Saying the problem is that many people believe this stuff is real. There's probably too much stuff out there that's just completely false that too many people believe is real. And Hellbound 1981 comes in with another 5 membership gifts. He drops 5 more gifts onto you guys, getting us to the 25. And then Steven Leon coming in with the 20 bomb. Steven Leon bringing in the big flex here, doing the big lift, dropping 20 membership gifts.
Holy shit.
Thank you guys so much. Steven, Hellbound, everybody else who's dropping any support on this Halloween day. It's Halloween afternoon now. Really appreciate that, guys. As I've said and will continue to say, I'm only able to host these streams and post this content because you guys make it possible. So a big shout out. Is he out there? No, I think he's in here. I got him. So guys, that brings us up to 47 members on the day. And just like that, guys, I'll just put it out there, man. We are 3 members away from hitting our goal. So if we hit that goal, you get rewarded. We'll be doing a community Black Ops 6 stream. I don't know how many of you guys who are members play Black Ops 6, but either way, if you don't play, you can still tune in and hang out and watch. It's a good time. If we hit that goal, we'll do it right after this stream ends, okay? And Steven does it, bro. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take it to the finish line. Steven drops another 5 membership gifts for you guys. And just like that, boom. You're right. We did it. 52 members. Guys, you crushed the goal. So the thing I'm trying to determine now is, do I create like a stretch goal? I feel like it would be an optional stretch goal. But the first has been achieved here, which is 50 members gifted. So, guys, if you just received the membership gift, make sure you stay tuned for once this stream wraps up. We're going to move over to a second stream where we will play some Call of Duty together. And I want to make it clear, because I know I was like making a joke, like no Game Pass subs. Listen, if you're a member and you're playing Black Ops 6, you're welcome to join. Like, anybody is allowed to join the private matches we're going to be playing together, okay? So we're going to actually, in just a moment here, move on to the next topic. I just want to update this so you can see. All right, so here's what we'll do. We'll do a second goal. This will be an optional stretch goal, okay? Is that showing up for you? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to have to fix that on screen, but we'll do a stretch goal. It'll be optional. And we'll make it 100 gifts. All right. So we got the main goal crushed. and that's what matters. But what we'll do is if we hit that stretch goal, we'll do a morning with the misses tomorrow as well. Okay? So we'll be doing the Black Ops 6 gameplay no matter what after today's stream. We end up hitting 100 members today. We'll do a morning with the misses tomorrow as well. Okay? Cross-platform? Yes. Yes. Just to clarify, when we move over to the Black Ops 6 stream, gameplay stream, it's cross-platform. You know, it's just private matches for fun. So, doesn't matter what you're playing on. All right. All right. So, I think that pretty much wraps up the first topic of discussion when it comes to the situation with Insomniac and Wolverine. I don't... Hold on, guys. Rudy, you're saying MBG only new viewers get memberships now. Rudy, if you could tell me where you heard that, because this is the second time I'm hearing this, and as far as I'm aware, that's not true. I could be wrong. Maybe that is something YouTube did recently update and implement, but I haven't heard anything official. I just heard people saying this is the case. But I did notice a couple people re-upping their memberships because they were saying they realized that they didn't receive a membership gift. But I did see somebody say they received another gift as well. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's still random. I'm pretty sure it's still mostly random, but how much you engage with the chat makes a difference. Although, yeah, Angry Well Watcher, he says, interesting, that would explain things. I mean, I believe YouTube would do something like that because I think YouTube wants to try to incentivize and encourage people, well, not incentivize, but encourage people to re-up their own memberships. Maybe YouTube is kind of seen that, like, man, there are people who are getting like over a year's worth of memberships and they're not paying for them, you know? So we want to try to like distribute it to other people as well. That's a possibility. I wouldn't be shocked if they decided to do that. But yeah, if you guys want, make sure you interact with the chat without spamming, but interact with the chat in a meaningful way as much as you can. And that'll give you the best shot at receiving a membership gift. And Stephen Leon with a super chat says, off topic, my surgery went well. My left eye is great. My right eye is giving me a little problem. I re-upped mine today. Well, thank you so much, Stephen. And I'm glad to hear that the surgery went well overall. Hopefully whatever problem you're having with your right eye gets sorted out. But yeah, you've been talking about that, Stephen, and I'm glad to hear it all went well. Do I plan on playing the Horizon remaster? I do, actually. Yeah. I bought the physical copy because I want to have a physical copy of it. I want to add it to my collection, but I decided I am going to play it. I'm going to kind of approach it again fresh, you know, because the first time I played it, I beat the main game and then that was basically it. And that was years ago. And Forbidden West is still kind of fresh. It's not super fresh in my mind, but it's fresher, right? Like I feel like I think more about Forbidden West than I do Zero Dawn. And it'll be interesting because when I replay this, I'm gonna really be interested in finding out, like, did I like Horizon Zero Dawn better? And if so, how much better did I like it than a sequel? But I've been seeing some of the screenshots and the comparisons that have come out for Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster, and I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised that Sony is allowing the $10 upgrade because, dude, it looks like better than I would have expected. It looks like a remake. I almost forgot. This is for Hellbound and Corey and Steven. I know you guys always wait for this.
Boasty, read me. It's time to feed the beast.
All right, Luna gets to go first because it's Halloween and she's a black cat. But I'm pretty sure Boss is going to try to express his dominance here or assert his dominance. All right, I'm sorry I lingered on that too long. But Luna will enjoy her treats. And we're going to move on to the next topic, which talks about the PS5 Pro. We have more news and more updates regarding the PS5 Pro. I will let you guys know, although I think this is already assumed, we will be talking a lot about the PS5 Pro in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we're just 7 days away from it launching, so we're going to continue to get more information probably on a near daily basis about this console. And so because of that, it's going to be impossible for me not to continue to cover it. But also, there's a couple of things we're learning about, well, at least one thing we're learning about the PS5 Pro that a lot of people have been questioning and curious about. And we now have a definitive answer. It has to do with the PS5 Pro covers, right? Like, can you use the regular PS5 Slim covers on the PS5 Pro? And the answer to that question is no. It's been confirmed, but interestingly enough, it seems like Sony already made it clear in the original blog post for the PS5 Pro that this was going to be the case. And I do remember reading something about it, but they weren't as clear about it as they could have been. Their wording could have been a little bit better to just more clearly communicate to players that they're going to do them separately. Gavin, you're saying disgraceful. What a disgrace. I mean, I don't know that I'm feeling, it depends, right? Like, if the plates don't fit, I can only assume it's because the PS5 Pro is at least, because what's interesting is the bottom plates fit, but the top pieces don't. So I don't know if this was done. If it was done intentionally, that's a crappy move. God bless you, Luna. If it was done intentionally, where they're like, we're going to purposely just make it so the top plates don't fit for no reason other than we just want to be able to sell you more plates, that's crappy. That's just totally weak. And I'm not going to lie, it's not something that I automatically assume they wouldn't do that, right? Sony would never do such a thing. No, I could see them doing that. But it seems too, like, it's almost like too shitty in a way, where it's like, really? Like it's, I'm saying this because I don't think this is that big of a deal for them. Like, if you bought a PS5 Pro, they got you. As in, like, they got the most money out of you for a hardware product that they're going to get. But then again, the disk drive, right? The disk drive situation, the stand being sold separately. So maybe when you look at those things, it does sound like that's something maybe Sony would do. Xbox is king. We did cover that, man. I will let you know. We just spent the last hour and 20 minutes covering that topic. So I'm sorry you missed it, but I would recommend coming back to the stream when we're done, or when you're done here, and checking it out. MBG, the plates have insane profit margins. It's pieces of plastic they sell for $80. Yeah, that's a good point, B Flesher. And that maybe does, again, it's the Concord tax, man. I would say I'm upset about it, but I'm not. I'm just speaking for me. Hold on. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring Boss over here so he can have his treats too. I would say I'm upset about this with the plate situation, but I'm personally not, because I had no plans of buying covers. That's me. But I do completely understand, for anybody who is planning to upgrade to the PS5 Pro, the disappointment and the dismay that, shit, I was, really hoping that these plates I already purchased. Man, let me tell you, devastating news for anybody who bought the 30th anniversary edition PS5 Pro, or sorry, the 30th anniversary PS5 Slim, and they thought they were going to take those gray plates off and put them on the Pro. Absolutely devastating news, man. That's crazy. Is there anybody here who is planning on doing that? I remember somebody said to me a couple weeks ago that they were. Boss, come on. All right, Luna, you gotta head out now. It's Boss's turn. They already did this with the base model PS5 plates not working on the Slim, so it's nothing new. That's a good point. I think what just makes it much worse this time is the fact that these consoles look the same, basically. All right, come on, guys. Don't fight. Don't fight. Oh, my God, Luna. Oh, Jesus. I'm trying to, like, manage these cats here while still maintaining the conversation. She just nearly knocked the whole rack over here. Oh, my God. Luna's chaos, bro. But yeah, I do think what makes it worse this time is people look at the Pro and they're like, it looks almost identical to the Slim. It's got 4 individual plates. Come on, boss. Luna. Come on. Hey. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa. Luna's straight up trying to fight me, right? Are you guys seeing this? Pumpkin's gonna get you, Luna. Pumpkin's gonna get you. Luna, get down. I don't know. Boss, I'm sorry, man. I tried. I just feel bad because he won some treats too. Oh, he's growling? He's still getting his treats. You guys just aren't going to be able to see him eating them. Yeah, I'm not trying to mess with Luna, dude. Her paws are getting big. Her claws are getting sharp. I don't know how many people here have been scratched by a cat before, but their claws, man, are deceptively, like, what's the word? I don't know what word to use to describe it, but you get like a little scratch from them and you're like, ah, that's nothing. And then you just start like profusely bleeding. You're like, oh my God, wait, what happened? It's like they cut so clean. It's deceptive. Yeah, they're like knives. Anyway, it does hurt a little bit. The worst, though, just want to say, the worst is when you accidentally get cut by their back, like the claws on the back of their back paws, because those are like their they're like real defensive claws. Like those are the ones that will do the most damage. And I mean, you got to be careful because like if you're ever like holding a cat and they jump off you the wrong way or something, they accidentally like scratch you with their back claws. That's when it gets painful. Michael Lynch, I'm sorry, buddy. I almost missed your super chat. You're saying if the plates don't fit, you must acquit. There you go. Well put, Michael. But getting back to the topic here. So PlayStation 5 Pro, the slim plates will not be compatible. So unfortunately, that's just another area where if you want the full experience, if you want a colorful PlayStation 5 Pro, you will have to drop some more money. For the payers, as they say. It started as for the players, now it's for the payers. I'm not going to lie, when I see people use that, you know, they like photoshopped it and it says for the payers, I laugh every time because I'm like, it's kind of true. Yeah, I mean, it's like always been true. Play does have limits. I would love if Sony just embraced it. You know, if they just embraced it and they're like, guys, we're changing our slogan to play does have limits, and this is the limit. This is how much it costs. Or for the payers. I mean, at least they would be up front, make it clear, like, we want your money, so we're making it for the payers. Pay has no limits. That one's... Yeah, there you go. Combine them. Combine them both. Pay has no limits. That's the best one. You know what? Yeah, just make a third slogan for the enthusiasts like us. And make it say, pay has no limits. Ahoy Tyler says, MBG Zubitech posted a long message from Herman talking about PS5 and the business a bit. Ooh. Okay. Let me go look at that for a moment. I don't have that listed as a topic. Oh, whoa, Luna, come on. Don't attack me. Get out. You're being bad now. Guys, I don't mean to keep getting so distracted. I know some people get frustrated with how much I get distracted by the cats. It's just that she almost turned off the stream. She almost hit the power strip. She almost knocked over my whole rack over here, turned off the power strip. It's like she knows it's Halloween and she's supposed to be chaotic. Let me go see what you're talking about, though, because I don't have this listed as a topic, but if there's enough substance to it, maybe I could talk about it tomorrow. That's a really long quote from Herman Hulst. Where is this from? Is this recent? That's the only thing Zubitech didn't post is when this... you know what? I'm assuming this quote is from the business meeting. That's my assumption from earlier this year. It sounds like... Because I'm just kind of skimming through it. It sounds like something that... that he would say to like a shareholder... or like an answer to like a shareholder question. Michael Lynch is saying, they're like women. They cut you and then bleed you dry. Damn, Michael went there. Michael says Sony's like women. MBG, how do you choose who plays Black Ops with you? Well, I don't choose. The way it worked last time is I start up a private match and the room has a code. And anybody can put that code in and join the room. Anybody who's in the stream. And I don't think we hit a player limit. Last time we did not hit a player limit. So we should be good. If we hit a player limit, I'll have to figure that out. Saying it talks about being CEO towards the end, so it must be recent. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you know what? Let me read this. So this is a bit of a bonus topic here, if you will. Sony Interactive Entertainment / PlayStation Studio Business Group CEO Herman Hulst. Quote, and this is what he has to... I don't know if this was a question, but this is a quote from Herman Hulst. It's long. We spend a lot of time doing portfolio planning, and platform is a big part of that. So when we were doing our planning from early stages of PlayStation 5, it was really important to get really high quality titles on PlayStation 5 right out of the gate. And that's served us well and brought us to the position of PlayStation 5 that's really, really good. I think the other thing to say here is that the teams love tinkering with the hardware. They love the privilege of being involved in the hardware. And hardware is not just the boxes, it's also the peripherals. And teams like Team Asobi on Astrobot, that team is a prime example of early on helping design, in addition to some schemes, the hardware features of the controller, creating demos for it, and actually in some cases, these demos evolve into an entire product that becomes a large production in its own way. So we are involved in that. We enjoy that very much. Same with PS5 Pro. Both of the demos that you've seen are PlayStation Studios. Teams take great pride in doing that. Obviously, we are involved in any hardware planning efforts. It's very much that symbiosis of, on the hardware side, what can you guys do with it? And there's the feedback, and here's the feedback. And you can make demonstrations for it. And all of this is to inspire third party, which is a huge source of revenue, obviously, for the business, to inspire that you can do, to inspire what you can do and what's the quality bar for these short showcases. That always has been a part of what PlayStation Studios does, and it always will be. And that's in addition to finding the incremental additional revenue streams of opportunities to leverage in film and television and merchandise and location-based entertainment and whatever else. The Last of Us HBO series has been a game changer in terms of the credibility of adaptations from games to television series. We learned a lot from that. We learned that it's really important to involve the original creators to ensure that your experience remains very authentic. As the team stays involved, we're applying these kinds of learnings across the board. At PlayStation Productions, we have 10 productions now in the works. The Last of Us, Twisted Metal, a few others that we're very excited about. I think going forward, we will be increasingly meticulous and rigorous about our franchising. So we're talking about adaptations, but in adaptations, that's taking the game and then see what else you can do with it. We're actually looking to build from the ground up as we tried to do originally with Horizon in creating this world and creating this storyline and how can you tell stories in this world on various mediums. And so we're setting up franchise teams and portfolio management teams to work with teams to do that properly and find different ways to tell stories in the worlds we're creating. I will say a few things on that. It's our duty to look at our resource planning and make sure that we run a sustainable business. That's part of being CEO. We never take that lightly because we know these people personally and it's very close to our hearts and the teams and good working atmospheres. But yes, we've had some layoffs, but it's also important to realize that on the content side, PlayStation Studios is now a much bigger organization than when it started. It's grown tremendously, and that is organic growth that our existing teams, I think, hired quite aggressively, as well as through M&A. So the organization, the employment is much greater now than it was, let's say, for example, 5 years ago. And that's a very long quote, but that is what Herman Hulst, I guess, had to say, just generally speaking, about PlayStation, the studio business side. And it's interesting to hear what he had to say from kind of the more CEO side of things at the end of that quote. And I mean, when I hear Herman talk like this, it does give me confidence because it sounds good. Like he sounds like he knows what he's doing, right? There's nothing he said there that makes me go, ooh, I don't know about that. It all sounds good. In practice, you know, there's still a lot that I think we have to see unfold. But Phoenix, you're saying there's another quote? Is there? Let me see. Okay, we have Hideaki Nishino, Sony Interactive Entertainment, PlayStation Platform Experience, Senior Vice President, CEO. My God, these titles. Basically, the other CEO, because there are two CEOs now of PlayStation. Quote, so we have done Pro in the last generation. We learned a lot from there. When we were selling PS4 Pro, in addition to the PS4 Pro or the PS4, 20% of customers actually got the PS4 Pro. It was high end. It was premium tier. So there are potential users acquiring those kind of units. Interestingly enough, it was not just about highly engaged users. Actually, new users come to PlayStation to get the PS4 Pro as well. We started working on PS5 Pro even before PS5 launched. It was another 5-year project for us. So there was a conversation around whether we wanted to do another Pro or not. But the main thing was that there are technologies we can grow up in 3 years' time or 5 years' time. So the innovation and technology advancement is more quicker in a modern world. Phones are updating every year. PCs are updating every year. I don't think we'd go every year updates, but there are things we can package together to bring the greatest things into the game console segment range. So that's the vision. I think it's great to see people talking about it, like year 3 usually. The conversation around the gaming console comes down. So people are shifting the conversations more to the next generation or something like that. But we're kind of happy to see like the most engaged gaming users are interested in the PS5 Pro. And then I'm pretty sure new users will grab the Pro as well. If it's the PlayStation you want to get, that's the thing. So that's where we designed the generation at this moment. We design everything we have. We design everything with having one ahead in our mind. It's not like we just make a next step and we don't know about the next 2 steps ahead. That's not our way of working, because we need to make sure that the 10-year-old generation cycle continues to go well. This is translated. I don't know if this is translated from Japanese or not, but he says, this is the final quote from Hideaki Nishino. I just wanted to say that the Pro is not next gen. It is still the PS5 generation. PS5 Pro will do everything that PS5 does, so it's a consumer choice. If they see a need for more visually, they will get it. So we wanted to provide an option for the customer within the generation. That's what we're doing. So again, I do not know where these... I can only assume that these 2 quotes maybe came from like recent press events or something, right? I'm not entirely sure, but massive quotes from both Herman Holst as well as Hideaki Nishino. And based off of what they're saying here, I mean, it sounds like they're not saying anything surprising, like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that and we're learning this. But it still sounds more along the lines of we're kind of sticking with the plan, right? Like, this is the plan that we had, not only from the PlayStation Studio side of thing, where it's about the portfolio planning, the franchising, the expansion of the IP, but also from the hardware side of things. Hey, the PS5 Pro, it's an optional device. It's something we planned all the way from the beginning, and it's not going to be for everybody, but some new users might pick it up. It's just an option. It's there for the high-end enthusiast user. It all sounds good on paper, right? Like, and that's why I think it's going to be interesting to see the results in the data with the upcoming earnings reports, because based off of the way Herman and Nishino are talking here, it sounds like they're confident that the plan they chose to incorporate, or the strategy, I should say, they're sticking with it. And you know what's also interesting is it almost sounds like almost nothing has changed. It's from a Variety website interview. Okay, thank you, Taicho. Yeah, I didn't know. Waylark, you're saying, sounds like they're putting the cart before the horse, planning for future games they don't even know will be successful. That's... yeah, I mean, that could be a potential outcome. And that's why I would hope, again, not to beat the dead horse here, but that's why I would hope that the situation with Concord, the lesson learned is, you did a lot of planning for this. You went into you bet too much money on it. You know, you put too much faith in it. I think there always has to be a certain level of confidence, but one thing that I think we also can learn from Herman being not only the head of PlayStation Studios, but now the CEO of the creative business unit, as they call it, ever since Herman took over, it seems like the strategy really did shift to, like, we need to take the successful franchises we have now and grow them aggressively. And part of that growth is going to be the expansion outside of gaming, right? And I think that's been done mostly successfully. But that's what's interesting when you do look at Concord, is they set Concord up as like, that's what that's going to be. We're going to have everything set up to where this is going to be, and I think that's why they call it like a Star Wars-esque property, where we're going to make movies, we're going to make shows, we're going to do merch, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You know, we're already going to have an episode for Secret Level. I think that they really kind of set it up that way, and that's what they're doing with Until Dawn. They're making a movie for Until Dawn. They're doing an Until Dawn 2, and they want to franchise it. And I'm not against this, but I do think that, like, what you're saying here, Waylark, is in taking that approach, like taking the approach that is less of a wait and see approach, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The approach that Herman Holst is taking from the creative business unit side of things is more like you're placing big bets. And so if you bet wrong, you're going to lose big too. And that's a very interesting strategy when you consider that the other way they could do it is maybe bet a lot less and see what happens. And if it succeeds, then we go all in, right? This is almost like the opposite of that. And the good thing about that strategy, I mean, again, it's high risk, high reward, but it has that high reward factor where if they figure it out, if they bet right, if they approach a new IP and they go all in and they throw all this money at it and they plan it to be some kind of, franchise transmedia situation, it's gonna pop off for them because they'll already be ready to make that happen. They won't do it because you have to ask yourself, well, like, why would they choose to do it this way? I'll tell you why. At least this is my read on it. A lot of times when something pops off big, by the time they're ready to hit the ground running again, whether it be with another game, whether it be with another, just anything relating to that IP, something of consequence, something that can also reach a new audience, they're usually a day late and a dollar short. Not all the time, but these things happen a little bit too late. Like, they can still have an impact, and sometimes they do. But you ever hear the saying, strike while the iron's hot? That seems to be what they're kind of banking on here, where it's like, if we release a new game and it pops off, we want to be ready. Like, we already had a movie in development for this game. We already have a sequel planned. Like, we already have a spinoff. We already have a TV series. We already have all this merch ready. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have everything ready. There is a benefit to that where it's like you can truly get the most juice from a single squeeze if you plan that properly. But that's where you have to have like a certain level of like you have to have an intuition. And that's why I'm like starting to wonder if maybe Herman should alter his strategy a bit, where it's like, Herman, bro, I appreciate that strategy and I see what you're going for. But you bet on the wrong horse here. And because of that, you took the high risk and you experienced the consequences of that. Maybe this isn't the best way to do it. But again, it's like, I mean, there's a lot we don't know from a new IP standpoint. And I think that's why I'm not going to jump to the definitive conclusion that, Herman, you're doing this the wrong way, because Concord is a new live service IP. Fair Games is a new live service IP. What about Naughty Dog's new IP, though? What about Santa Monica's new IP? What about Blue Point's new IP? What about Media Molecule's new IP? You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the projects that I think really are going to let us know if Herman knows what he's doing and made the right bets. Because it's like, you know what? Concord, screw it. At the end of the day, you can throw it in the trash heap. That is, we tried to do live service. We tried to go all in and it failed. Whatever. But Sony's bread and butter, the AAA blockbuster single player game, if Herman screws that up, well, then we have a whole different situation unfolding in front of us. And that's where I don't want to assume that all of these upcoming new IP projects from these studios, right? Oh, I have to, crap. I just realized the goal is about to expire. I didn't mean for it to expire so soon. I'll keep track of it. We're at 11. But yeah, I need to see more. Ghost of Tsushima 2 was planned, but they changed it. Where did you get that information from, Space Money L? Because I'm fairly certain that's not true. We have Waylark, he says, look at Concord and the episode they paid for. Kojima's getting a movie for his game, LOL. What's interesting, Waylark, is I think Sony has no involvement with that movie. I think Kojima partnered with, wasn't it A24, I believe? So Sony wasn't able to make that happen, but Sony does have something planned. Actually, no, they do. They have something planned with Fizzant. They actually made it clear that they're going to try to have like a movie ready to go at the same time or around the same time Fizzant is being marketed and launching. See, that's what they're going for, dude. That synchronization. I mean, literally fire on all cylinders at one time. Figuratively literal, you're saying it's the Herman sermon. I don't like that. I don't like that figuratively literal. That makes me feel uncomfortable. Waylark is saying no, his next Sony game. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking of Death Stranding. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think when we look at that type of planning, Herman is all in on Kojima and his new IP, Fizzant. I mean, I would say that's a much safer bet. I can completely understand why Herman is like, we're going to throw money at this. I get it. I think Kojima, why wouldn't you bet big on Kojima? It doesn't guarantee anything, but it makes sense why you would bet big on Kojima. But when looking at Hideaki Nishino and reading what he had to say, I think what he had to say was maybe a little bit less interesting because it was, mainly focused on the PS5 Pro and stuff we've already went over. But a couple of key points that I want to highlight here from Hideaki Nishino and what he had to say, if I can bring it back up. He points out here that about 20% of the customers who bought PS4s, 20% of them bought PS4 Pro. And he says it was high-end, it was premium tier, so there are potential users acquiring those kinds of units. Interestingly enough, and this is the important part, it was not just about highly engaged users. Actually, new users came to the PS4 Pro. And that, I think, is worth highlighting because this could also explain why Sony decided we need to go with the PS5 Pro. Like, we need to make this happen because they have telemetry that tells them these are users we may have otherwise not gotten into our hardware ecosystem if we didn't produce this hardware. Now, I don't know that Sony's expecting to acquire a lot of new users with the PS5 Pro given its price point. But I do believe that there are people, certainly, who were waiting for this. They were specifically waiting for the Pro version model, and that's when they were going to upgrade to next gen. So that's a little bit of interesting insight. Yeah, that is true. You're saying the CEO forgot about the $700 part. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a tough thing to just be like, and it's $300 more. So I get it. You don't really talk about that. Michael Werneth comes in and drops another 10 bomb on you guys. Michael coming in, flexing on you guys, dropping some membership gifts, 10 more to add to the total, which brings us up to 62 on the day. So we'll see if you guys end up hitting that stretch goal. Michael's getting you started here. Thank you, Michael. We'll let
Enough from me. We're going to have the games do our talking.
The best quote ever. Enough from Jim. Jim was so serious about that quote, he just left Sony. He's like, I'm not even going to talk. Not only am I not going to talk, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to let the games talk. I'm just going to let the games do it all. No, it's because he knew Concord was about to talk, bro. He knew Concord was about to talk, and he's like, all right, that's enough talking. We've allowed the games to say too much. Perfect Image, you're saying PlayStation needs to go back to the dev talk or community manager. I don't think that's going to happen, Perfect Image. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. George, you're saying, MBG, is there going to be another morning with the missives tomorrow? So that's our stretch goal. Our stretch goal is to hit 100 total members today. If we do that, there will be another morning with the misses tomorrow, okay? What we're doing today is another Black Ops 6 member community stream. But if we hit that stretch goal, we'll double up and we'll do a morning with the misses. So if you want to see that, George, not pressuring you, I'm just saying, it's... You better drop a 50 bomb. That's what I'm saying, George. No, I'm kidding. Michael Wernath uses his milestone chat and says, please smash that like button. He's being polite about it. He wants you to smash it, but smash it politely. Yeah, guys, hit that like button. Haven't been asking you to do that enough. Let's see if we can push for 150 likes, maybe 175. It definitely helps the streams. Chili21 says, just tried Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster. It's gorgeous. Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what it looks like on the Pro, because I believe they said it's going to be Pro Enhanced, and I don't think we've seen it on the Pro yet. We've seen, I think, footage running on the base PS5, but not the Pro. So I got a confirmation earlier that my physical copy of it is arriving today, and that might be one of the first games I try out on the Pro. I'm excited for the Pro, man. I'm really excited to just kind of see what some of these games are going to look like, and I don't suspect they're going to underwhelm. I don't think so. In fact, I've already been sold on quite a few different comparisons and images I've seen, on YouTube and Twitter where everything's compressed. So when I see that, I know automatically it's going to look even better natively when I have it running natively on my screen. Yeah, Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma. I mean, look, I know that there are some people who are not excited about the Pro because they're like, man, these are just going to be games we already played and all that stuff. And it's like, I get it, but man, like, they're good games. Like, these are a lot of these games are probably games that for a lot of people are worth going back to. And a lot of these games people probably played and didn't finish. I know that there's some games I didn't finish, and it's just kind of incentive, But Perfect Image, I just want to say with what you said with your super chat, how you're saying like Sony kind of has to go back to allowing the developers to talk or, community managers. I think what you're kind of describing is something more akin to what we saw with the PS4 days. And Sony, at least for now, and I don't think anytime soon, they're not going back to that. I'm not saying the way they're handling it now is the worst way. I don't think it's the worst way. It could be worse. I don't think it's the best way either, but I think it kind of makes sense why they're operating this way. I think Sony kind of realizes that they do have to run the PlayStation brand from a more business-oriented standpoint now in the name of making sure their profit margins don't continue to shrink. And can you just imagine if Sony had an in-person event for the PS5 Pro and they announced that $700 price point in front of a live audience? Like, could you imagine that? It would be disaster. It would. And I think they know that. I think in a way, Sony is kind of relying on... You think they would cheer? I think they would cheer first until that $700 price point. You think I'm wrong? You think that's interesting. You think people wouldn't boo and be upset? I'd be surprised. I mean, maybe you're right. If it was like a fan event like PlayStation Experience, maybe that's different, right? Where it's like we only let the fans show up because we know they'll cheer. No normies. No casuals. You got to prove your enthusiasm. You got to have there's like some kind of qualification you have to meet to be able to partake in the event and watch live. You think people react differently to things in person? I agree with that. There is truth to that. Maybe, you know what? In that case, maybe it would benefit Sony. Maybe that's what people need. If they see the audience cheering Maybe they don't feel as bad. You're like, oh, well, they're happy. I guess I'm happy too. Sure. I don't know. These days now you're hanging out with me and other streamers, and you get to see our live reactions. You would see tears of joy. Wabu, dude, I'm sorry, buddy. You're saying happy Halloween, MBG. Are you and the fam dressing as the Bluey family tonight? I think we may have dropped the ball on getting the Bluey stuff, but the reason for that is because at the last moment, my son decided he wanted to be Sonic. So my son is being Sonic for Halloween. He's got his costume. He looks great in it. He's even got like these two, the two plastic rings that he like hits together and it makes the sound. So yeah, it's still blue, but he did change his mind at the last moment. So I'll just be going. I'll be going out there as MBG. That's what I'll be doing. And happy Halloween to you as well, Wabu, dude. Thank you for the super. We also have Andrew with a $5 chat saying, anyone who complains about a $700 price is not who Sony is targeting. Sony doesn't care about who complains. It was never for the complainers. You're right. It was for the payers. But for real, that's like actually true. You're absolutely right, Andrew. This is, again, I'm not having this conversation because I don't want to, I'm going to try to get better at not just repeating the exact same topics and talking points over and over again. But I will just say, this is why I do bring up the PlayStation 6 generation and my level of interest in seeing how Sony plans to communicate the price of the next-gen console to the wider gaming community. Because the PS5 Pro is not targeting people who believe $700 is too much. It's targeting the enthusiasts, the people who want the high end, and the people who, are willing to pay. And yes, you're right. Thank you. I forgot to update my member goal. We're actually at 62 members. Thank you for letting me know. That would have just stayed there like that. But we have a couple of other things really quickly here about the PS5 Pro to go over. Nothing major, but just stuff you guys might be interested in. Let me bring it up. Hold on. So one of the things that did come out, this is like the most minor thing, but it's something that I just thought was kind of funny. The box of the PS5 Pro has now been compared to the original PS5 box, and the box it ships in is significantly smaller in size than the base PS5. So there is that. Waylark, you're saying Pro is for the fans who. Waylark, you're getting wild today, Waylark. I'm not reading that whole thing. The Pro is for fans who blank with a Sony logo. Waylark, get out. I'm just kidding. It's fine. Waylark, calm down. Calm yourself. What else did I have here? Oh, okay. Something else about the PS5 Pro. I want to throw this out here. I did cover this in my video, but I just want to let you guys know about this. It has to do with Dying Light the Beast. I don't know how excited you guys are for this game. This actually is pretty exciting. At least it sounds good to me. It started as a DLC, but it's now becoming like a full-blown game. Techland is saying like they're going to be apparently trying to go like above and beyond with this game on the PS5 Pro. Okay, you're saying MBG, did you see Microsoft's earnings? Almost $25 billion in net profit for one quarter. Ridiculous numbers. Their margins are big. Oh yeah. See, that's why Satya is going to win at the end of the day. And Phil knows it. Because I did see that, and I'm just like, what? You just pocket a cool $25 billion. The board of Microsoft, they know what they're doing. Satya knows what he's doing. That's ridiculous, dude. All right, hold on. My I have too many windows open right now. There we go. So, speaking with Gaming Bolt in a recent interview, the franchise director of Dying Light revealed that Dying Light: The Beast will be enhanced for the upcoming Pro console, confirming that the game will take advantage of everything the PS5 Pro has to offer. We definitely are keeping the latest hardware in mind. We want to make sure Dying Light: The Beast takes advantage of everything the PS5 Pro has to offer, but we'll be sharing more specific enhancements closer to launch. We already had our first attempt at this by adding improvements to Dying Light 2 Stay Human, which is another PS5 Pro enhanced game. But for Dying Light: The Beast, we definitely want to take it much, much further. And that's kind of exciting for me. I'm not going to lie. That's the type of stuff that I like to hear from devs, where they're, they're going to be trying to push the limit. Okay, why is my chat broken? Hold on, guys. I'm having some technical difficulties once again with YouTube. My chat seems to be completely broken, guys. I'm trying to see if I can fix it. Okay, I think we're good now. We're good now. It just froze up real bad, and then it crashed, and now it's okay. We're good. We're good. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention this because we're already starting to hear developers that have games coming down the pipeline where, they're going to have more time with the Pro hardware and they're going to be able to do more with it. And I just, I'm interested. They have my attention. Techland, I think Dying Light: The Beast looks good, but they make it sound like they really want to try to push the PS5 Pro, and I'm excited. So. And then one last thing here regarding the PS5 Pro, just throwing this out here. Another game getting PS5 Pro enhanced, Lords of the Fallen. Don't know how many people are going to be playing this on the Pro, but the devs did go out of their way to enhance it, where it seems like for Lords of the Fallen, they're just, and this is an Unreal Engine 5 game, they're straight up going with a higher pixel count. They're using the extra GPU power to just get a raw higher pixel count. The PS5 Pro version of Lords of the Fallen allows players to experience the game with a 40% increase in pixel density over the base PS5 console, resulting in a sharper image and finer detail. Performance mode delivers visual detail at 4K 60. The 4K is being upscaled from 1440p, and it will be they say a fluid 60 frames per second. So I don't know if that's going to be locked or not, but they're saying that the Pro, apparently, I don't know if they went out of their way to do anything here, but quality mode runs at native 4K 30, showcasing intricate visuals. So they also say here that they've teased future updates and enhancements. So maybe they're going to do more with it once they have more time with it. But guys, that concludes our topic regarding the PS5 Pro. I just wanted to kind of go over these updates with you and this news. We have one more topic that we're going to be discussing. And when we finish up the third topic, we're going to end this stream, go over to a members stream, and we're going to play some Black Ops 6 together. All right. So if you're a member, please look forward to that. And I will say this final section of the stream, it'll be the last opportunity to push for that goal of 100 members. So we'll see if we can hit that or not. But I want to talk about Microsoft and what they had to say about the launch of Call of Duty. I want to have this conversation because we've been talking for so long about this moment, the build up to this moment where Microsoft has Activision Blizzard. They own Call of Duty. Call of Duty is not being stripped from PlayStation or anywhere else, but it is going day one into Game Pass. So what are the results? And let me know if these results surprise you. Being reported by VGC, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has enjoyed a blockbuster launch, according to Microsoft. The latest entry in Activision's shooter series was released on October 25th for Xbox Series, Xbox One, PS5, PS4, and PC. Notably, it was also the first Call of Duty to be available on Game Pass day one. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella touched on the game's early performance during Microsoft's first quarter earnings call on Wednesday. Last week's launch of Black Ops 6 was the biggest Call of Duty release ever, setting a record for day one players as well as Game Pass subscriber add-ons. On launch day, he said. And unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up over 60% year over year. This speaks to our strategy of meeting gamers where they are by enabling them to play more games across the screens they spend their time on. Activision Blizzard drove a 43% jump in Xbox revenue during Microsoft's first quarter, the company said earlier today. And then they also talk about some of the updates that they're going to be bringing to Call of Duty. So these are the results. Black Ops 6, owned by Microsoft. Well, not just but Call of Duty, owned by Microsoft across the board. This game, it's. I'm telling you, man, this is what's going to likely convince Microsoft to just fully embrace going multi-platform, because they're seemingly getting what they hoped for. Now, they didn't reveal Game Pass numbers, like they didn't give a specific number, but they're saying that they had the largest jump of day one subscribers for Game Pass, which I'll be honest with you, I'm not surprised to hear that. I've said before that if it's not Call of Duty, if Call of Duty can't do it, what will? It would have been quite surprising if this wasn't the game that drove the most amount of day one subs. But what's most interesting to me, believe it or not, is the increase in sales on PlayStation and PC. Black Ops 6 seems to be like genuinely like the biggest Call of Duty ever. There's seemingly a lot of hype for Treyarch and this latest Black Ops entry because, dude, on PlayStation, sales are up over 60% and on PC. So the game's selling even better on PlayStation as well. So this is why when we had these long, extensive conversations about the different strategies and the different ways that these platform holders and these hardware manufacturers are going to go about their business, I always tell you guys, I refer to the numbers. I refer to the data. Now, we don't have explicit numbers here. Like, here's how many units were sold. Here's how many Game Pass numbers. We will need to get more concrete data to be able to truly get an exact lock on what, what's going on here. But based off of what we're hearing right now, it sounds to me like Microsoft. It sounds to me like what I said about Microsoft is coming true, where they win no matter what. That's why they paid $68 billion. They paid $68 billion to ensure that they win no matter what. You bet that big, it's too big to fail, right? And that seems to be what this is, where we didn't have to take the game off of PlayStation because that's where we're going to make a lot of our money, if not the bulk of our sales. We're going to continue to release it on PC, where we're going to get a lot of sales as well. And we're going to put it on Game Pass, so that way we can see if Call of Duty will be the thing to really move the needle. And yeah, that's the thing. Hardware for Xbox is, like you're saying, it's down 29%, which is not surprising. Right? It's just, I mean, if you're Microsoft, if you're Phil Spencer and you look at that, what are you thinking? I mean, if I'm the head of Xbox, if I'm the head of gaming at Microsoft, I'm looking at these numbers and I'm thinking, okay, yep, I think the way Microsoft as a company, if I'm being a company man and I'm trying to do my best job, my best work, where it's like, I got to make this company the most amount of money. The way you do that, it seems like it is third-party multi-platform publishing, hands down. Waylark, you're saying Microsoft bringing games to everyone and bringing in money. I mean, yeah, it's a strategy that it's clear it's killing their hardware. That's the thing. But I don't think that matters because I don't think that's mattered for a long time. You could make the argument that the PS5 killed the Xbox hardware. I mean, Microsoft contributed to it with some poor decision making or just some struggles along the way. But you could make the argument that the PS4 killed the Xbox hardware and the PS5 just buried it. And in that time, Microsoft basically was just like, what if we just focus on making money as a publisher? And here they are. The reality is Satya Nadella's strategy is producing results that Phil could only dream of, and that's the way it works, man. The board of Microsoft saw that Xbox was on the ropes and they saw that they're not making money. So they had to make a call. Do we open the war chest and let them spend billions and billions and billions of dollars in the name of long-term sustainability and a long-term plan? Or do we just shut them down or spin them off? But it's important to understand, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. It's important to also understand it's early. We have to see if the consistency is there. Of course, you're going to get your biggest pop with the first Call of Duty game hitting Game Pass. Of course, Black Ops 6 is going to do exceptionally well compared to what we saw last year, which was, Modern Warfare 3, look, I don't think it was bad, and I don't think anybody really hated it, but people were definitely, I would say Call of Duty fans and gamers in general were definitely underwhelmed that they basically were like, we're just going to do basically a DLC for Modern Warfare 2. It's the first time they ever did something like that to where you can even carry your weapons over, which Call of Duty never did. So it basically, they validated like this is a DLC, a $70 DLC. And I think what that did is it created even more anticipation for Black Ops 6 because it's like finally something different. We're not used to this, right? Call of Duty players are not used to that. Call of Duty players are used to getting a brand new, even though it's similar in most ways, but a new setting, back to Black Ops or Sledgehammer doing World War II or just there's something different. Not a DLC, not an expansion. That's what Call of Duty players are used to. And Modern Warfare 3 was the first time where they did something like that. And I think because of that, it created this kind of effect now where I think ultimately that benefited Black Ops 6. And I think that's why they're seeing such a huge boom with it because, again, they're not even just saying it's Game Pass. It just seems like Black Ops 6 this is a high point for Call of Duty. This is a high point for Call of Duty. Maybe it goes downhill from here. I don't know. But it's a high point for Call of Duty. And I think that Microsoft, to put it bluntly, they bet on the right horse. They did. They had to pay for it. Don't get me wrong. Like, they didn't necessarily win anything here. And maybe the terminology is the wrong. I'm not using the right terminology because implying they bet on the right horse means they paid to secure their win. But what they paid for, they got something that really was like, okay, we need this to do work for us. We need this to do heavy lifting for us like nothing ever has. And that's what we're paying for. That's our hope. And it worked out, man. Black Ops 6 is doing that heavy lifting for them. Waylark, you're saying reports of 500 million copies sold of Black Ops 6. I know what you're talking. That's not Black Ops 6. That's the entirety of the Call of Duty franchise. I did see that. They reported that the Call of Duty franchise since 2003, since the year 2003, has sold a total of 500 million units, which is bonkers, bro. Like that is, like you can, yeah. Waylark, you're saying assuming as a franchise. Yeah, could you imagine Black Ops 6 sells 500 million units? Phil would get promoted to CEO, bro. But, I mean, there we go. I felt like it was absolutely necessary for me to cover this because this, I'll be honest, man, this specific scenario with Activision Blizzard and Call of Duty, I think it kind of proves that everybody can win. Sony's winning because the boost in sales, that 60% boost, dude, Sony's seeing more money from Call of Duty this year than they probably ever have. Which, I think that's actually at a 30% rip. I think when it was under Activision, Sony only got a 20% rip or something like that. So I think Sony's very happy right now. We're like, yeah, we don't own Call of Duty, but hell, man, we're making more money off of Call of Duty than we ever have. Microsoft's obviously happy because they're making the most amount of money from it. And there's no way Microsoft's going to ever take Call of Duty off of PlayStation now, right? After seeing numbers like this. And then Microsoft also wins. PC players win because they get to play on PC. Really, right now, I'd say the only people that are losing are people who are playing on Switch, if that's all you play. But we know Call of Duty's also coming to Switch as well, for the Switch too. So this is a viable... I would say this has always been a viable option for Microsoft, kind of going more multi-platform, more third-party. But now more than ever, this is like... I think that this is the inflection point where I believe Microsoft was waiting for these results, waiting to see what would happen with Call of Duty, and they would allow that to basically be a determining factor in how they proceed forward. And I think after hearing what Satya Nadella had to say, I think that this is what this is where we're going to see this maybe lead to more third party, from Microsoft. And that doesn't have to be a bad thing for anybody. Waylark, you're saying, dude, it was always 30%. LOL. Waylark, look it up, man. We covered this. Activision actually forced Sony and Microsoft to agree to a lower cut. I'm not kidding. I think Microsoft had it the worst. Microsoft had the lowest cut. But yeah, we covered that. Activision was basically twisting Sony and Microsoft's arms and leveraging the power that Call of Duty had on their platform. And I think one of the things that Microsoft ultimately agreed to with Sony was just doing the industry, going back. Oh, okay. All right. Damn. Really? All right. Maybe I misunderstood then. You're saying Bobby wanted to change it. It never actually happened. Okay. Well, damn. I didn't realize that. In that case, Sony probably, in a way, is like, whew, all right, well, you know what? Hey, could have been worse, Could have been worse. Maybe it's a good thing Microsoft got Call of Duty. Who would have thought? All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let the stream go for about another 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. But this is the time. We're going to be moving over to a member stream where we're going to play some Black Ops 6 together. All right, we're going to do a community gameplay for members. We did hit the goal of 50, but now is the time. If you want to drop any more membership gifts, if we have any chance of hitting that stretch goal, now is the time to push to hit that stretch goal. If we hit that stretch goal of 100 members, I think we need 38 more members. We need 38 more members. If we hit that goal, we will do a morning with the missus tomorrow as well. Okay, not a big deal if we don't hit it. But I'm just putting that out there for anybody who cares right now because the stream's going to be wrapping up in a couple minutes. Yeah, I misunderstood that. You're saying we learned that from the court documents. I misunderstood. I thought that was something that was already implemented, but yeah. I guess it makes sense that Bobby was like, yeah, we're going to do that. All right. Oh, okay. That's good to know. The super chat goal doesn't go away. This is all your coworkers talk about now, Call of Duty. Dude, I have to admit, I've been really thoroughly enjoying Black Ops 6. Like, I started playing zombies mode more, and I was struggling with it at first because I don't know, it's been so long since I played like round-based zombies, but after putting some time into it, I'm like, okay, this is kind of addicting. It's really fun. It's a really fun gameplay loop. Any word on PS5 Pro support for Black Ops 6? Still nothing. I guess we're going to find out, you know? We're going to find out when the Pro launches in just a week. You want to play, but you're painting a house in Massachusetts. Hey, MBG, quick question. Where do you get your sound panels and how did you set them up? I just purchased mine from Amazon. I don't know the name of the company or the brand, but it was just one of the first, I think, like, not 5, but because usually the first results you get are like sponsored. But underneath the sponsored results, it was like one of the first 3 or 4 brands, and it had a lot of reviews. But the way they're set up is they have actually like little square double-sided stickers or like circle stickers, and you place them on each corner, and that's how they go up. The only problem with them is, and I will let you know, when you go to take them down, they will mess your wall up. So be prepared to repaint your wall if you plan on taking them down. But, you know, what are you going to do? I'm just stepping into the stream. Can you give a quick rundown to what happened with Wolverine? Yeah, quick rundown. And there is a video out there, by the way, Guy Gravity. I did put a video out there earlier if you want to check that out too. But a quick rundown. Basically, the lead director and the creative director are no longer working on Wolverine. The creative director, Brian Horton, actually is now working at Microsoft and working on Perfect Dark. The lead director just simply was replaced. And the 2 people taking over, I forget their names. I think it's Mike Daly and Marcus Smith, if I'm correct with those names. They're like the directive leads at the team that makes Ratchet and Clank. So they were the leads on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. They are now the leads of Wolverine. And that's basically it. Figuratively literal, you're saying Dual Sensibility podcast was cool. Could it return? I mean, it's possible. It's just it wasn't going to work out the way I was trying to do it, unfortunately. I know a lot of you guys enjoyed that, and I'm not going to say never. I will say right now it's not in the plans, but it could under the right circumstances. But for now, unfortunately, it cannot happen. Hold on. What is this? Okay. All right. Where are we at? Okay, so this is where we're gonna wrap it up. To all of my members, please stick around. As soon as this stream ends, I'm going to create another one. It's going to be for members only. Did I see what the Xbox CFO quote? Or did I see the Xbox CFO quote about Black Ops 6? I did not. I don't think so. No, the article I covered didn't mention what the CFO had to say. But guys, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today. I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to everybody who showed support. We're sitting at 62 members today, which is amazing to see. So I very much appreciate that support, and I'm very thankful. We also got a good amount of super chats. I'm very thankful for that as well. I just want to ask you guys, as you're heading out, to please hit that like button. And also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for all the streams. So if you guys see him in the comments with the timestamps. Give him some thanks. I know he really appreciates that. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this Halloween stream. Again, shout out to Mrs. MBG for decorating today and, you know, making it look, I think, better than it normally does. But to all of my channel members, again, I'm sorry to keep repeating it. I know people keep coming in and out of the stream. Channel members, we're moving over to a member stream. We're going to play some Call of Duty Black Ops 6. To everybody else, I will catch you in another regular stream. Maybe we'll be doing one tomorrow. Just be on the lookout for that. But yeah, that does it. Hit the like button. And guys, until next time, take care. Members, I'll see you in just a couple of minutes.